Cheers. Welcome back to another episode of the Jonathan David Detox Show. Today, we're going to have a fire conversation with an amazing guest talking about skin health, journeys that are really tough to get through. And I'm so excited to have Sarah Orsatti with me today. Sarah, thank you for being here. Sarah is a colon hydrotherapist. She is a lean, mean detox machine, and she has shared her journey with people, inspired people that may feel alone on their journey. We're going to get into a great conversation. Stick around for this. Sarah, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to share some information with you guys. Hopefully it could help some of you out there that are struggling with skin issues and are a little nervous about getting into detox. So happy to help.
Yeah, this is going to be a good conversation on detox. All right, so Sarah,
Yes.
let's start this off with, where did your journey begin with health? Like, we live in a very conditioned world. We're not taught about health.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you wake up to health?
So this was back in 2012. I was in college in Connecticut, and I went to Yukon, and I was into eating DP dough. I was into eating pizza. I thought I was eating healthy because I would eat, steamed chicken with my broccoli and things like that.
Yep.
Working out at the gym. I was drinking flavored water drinks, but nothing crazy. I wasn't drinking soda. I was raised pretty healthy throughout my life, but it wasn't until I developed a full body rash that I started looking more into what our food is being sprayed with. And after college, my whole journey kind of started there. And I was just like, nope, I'm going to rearrange everything that I can to start to feel relief on my own and get my body working the way it's meant to, in nature. So, yeah.
I used to love pizza. Tear it up.
Yeah, especially after a night of drinking at the club.
All the greasy food.
Yeah. Food has been so interesting to me. I've definitely gone extreme. I noticed one day, I was about 22 years old, I had woken up one morning with a ring around my leg. It looked like a ringworm rash, similar to what you've been through.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, it was itchy, but I was like, oh, this is eczema, not thinking much of it, Then I noticed the next day, I'm like, oh, this is starting to crawl up my leg. This is getting worse, but I still kind of was like, oh, I'll just put Aveeno lotion on it or take a oatmeal bath.
Yeah.
We're conventionally taught.
Yeah, oatmeal soap.
Yeah. And so as the week went on, it was like rapidly climbing up my body, got midway to my torso, then started crawling up my neck. And we were really concerned, so we ended up going to, it's either a dermatologist or a doctor at first, and they diagnosed it as ringworm. They said, nope, you don't got to change anything. We have this cream for you. Just take it daily, and in a week come back, and we'll see how you feel. So did the cream rapidly still. The rash was spreading. Didn't understand what was happening. Didn't even think about diet at the time,
Yeah, we never do.
No, and so ended up going back to the dermatologist, and they saw everything changing. They're like, oh, okay, well, we're just going to throw you on a round of steroids. So I'm like, okay, I had never heard about that before, but they said it should knock it out within a week, so sure, I'll try it. And lo and behold, it did clear everything up. I was surprised. However, the dose they gave me, I had to continually go higher and higher on the steroid because it would stop working. Your body gets used to it.
That ringworm was getting smart.
Well, then they were like, oh, well, it might not be ringworm. You might have just some type of dermatitis going on. So then it turned into dermatitis situations. And so for about a year and a half, I stayed on the steroids daily, which you are not supposed to do.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Your poor gut.
I would, yes. And there was heavy metals in there. At the time, my mom was trying to warn me, and she's like, I think there might be heavy metals in this, and I did not care. I was like, as long as I don't have to deal with the rash, it's fine. I'd put it all over my body. At the time, I was obsessed with tanning and going into tanning beds with lotions that had so many endocrine disruptors and
Little GTL
chemicals,
action.
yeah, and fragrances. So I was lathering myself in cancer and baking it into my skin. And but it kept everything away, right? So here and there, I would try to not use the steroid as well, but it would come back with a vengeance. The rash would start popping up everywhere, and I was like, oh man. So after college, I had come back to my parents' house, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to be on steroids anymore. I'm young, I'm healthy, I work out all the time. I wasn't partying that much at all, you know. I was like, why is my body malfunctioning? This doesn't make sense. So I stopped using the steroid, and hell broke loose. My body was trying to push out everything I had been suppressing for a year and a half. I was eating dairy, I was eating gluten. I had hundreds of food sensitivities. I had no idea. My liver, they did say my liver was elevated, but they were like, well, just keep an eye on it. It's fine. Your kidneys also. And I was like, oh, great. Okay. And at the time, I did go back and forth with the steroid because I had to work too. And when I didn't use the steroid, my skin would stick to my clothes. So I would try to go to work, but at night I'd try to take my clothes off and my skin would rip off too.
Ooh.
And it would bleed. So, and it was oozing at the same time. So it was just very messy. At this point, when I didn't use the steroid, I had crust. It was a fungal crust all along the side of my scalp, all around my eyes, my mouth. I had my ears also had fungal rashes, my neck. The only parts that didn't was right under here, my cheeks and my feet.
Wow, that's the
Literally,
only part.
The only part of my body. Yeah. I also had severe nerve damage because steroids thin your skin. So everything felt like pins and needles that I touched. Everything. My mom was wonderful, and my dad, and you know they wanted to understand what was happening, and I wish I had answers for them at the time.
And how old were you at this point?
I was 22.
Wow.
Yeah, going into
So
23.
young.
I think I was very frustrated too because I saw my friends going out and partying and doing things that normal early 20-year-olds do. And I'm like, why is my body failing? Like, why can't I do these things? You know?
Yeah. Oof.
So I ended up quitting the steroids. And so, yeah, came back with a vengeance, and we had gone to the dermatologist again. And they said, you know, you can't just stop these cold turkey. This is very dangerous. So they gave me an injection in the rear end.
I had those.
Yeah. And it's supposed to slowly taper you off and have your immune system not freak out. I didn't want it. I was very angry at the time. I was emotional because I'm like, I just feel like a lab experiment at this time, you know? And so I took the injection, and then over the months, as bad as it itched, as bad as the nerve pain was, I pretty much was in bed a lot of the time. I don't have a strong memory on it because I think it was traumatizing at the time, you know? But I did, I went into a depression, and I remember my parents, because I was scratching in the middle of the night and bleeding, we would have to plastic wrap my hands or put gloves on them. And we would also have to plastic wrap my body at times.
Ooh.
And the doctors just kept saying, put petroleum jelly, like just put, you know, which has motor oil in it. I understand the lubrication part, but I would just go buy coconut oil. It would dry out immediately, but over time, it's just my skin needed hydration. It needed to push things out, and it needed to absorb at the same time. So after a couple months, you know, even I remember trying to take a bath, and even that was painful to submerge yourself in water.
I bet.
You know, but I kept fighting. You know, it's like we were all kind of confused at the time, and I think there was a moment, you know, my family was kind of like, why don't you just go back on the steroids?
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't do it.
So at this
I
point,
knew.
you were off steroids, medication, all of it, the creams, off of all.
Yes.
Why did you continue to push away from all the medicine? Like, what in you made that happen?
I knew. I kept thinking in my head, okay, I've done all the healthy things my whole life. This just doesn't make sense that I have to be dependent on something my entire life, which they told me I would be dependent my whole rest of my life on. And I kept thinking, okay, I need to go back to the basics. I need to go back to like baby food, which I did. And I'm like, there's got to be something with my gut. I was bloated in high school. I think a lot of it started because I couldn't go to the bathroom. I was scared to go to the bathroom.
Oh, wow.
And so during my lunchtime in school, while all the kids ate, I would go to the bathroom, and sometimes I wouldn't poop for a week, and I'd be bleeding. And I would just sit in there through the whole lunch, and then I thought that was kind of normal. Like I was like, oh, maybe I'm just weird. But at the same time, like I'm still going at least once a week.
Wow.
So the toxicity built up, you know, lymphatic, and then it's trying to push out through the skin. And at the time, I do think I was exposed to black mold.
Okay.
That's been an ongoing process of detoxing. So, rashes. And I think that explains the ringworm as well. You know, there was a fungal thing going on inside the body.
So something inside of you was like, yeah, no, I want it to be the natural route.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Yep.
And that's what pushed you forward.
Yeah. So
that's impressive. There's like a light in there, like a voice or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I remember there was one night I was sitting up in bed, because at this point I still didn't know much on nutrition. I was just like, oh, you know, like I'll keep eating, you know, chicken, and as long as it's boiled. And my mom had raised me on organic baby food, but I definitely in the 90s ate a bunch of trash. Yeah. And I remember one night I had gotten really frustrated because we were going to so many different doctors, so many different naturopaths, so many different dermatologists. They still didn't have answers. We did an IgG test. I had hundreds of food sensitivities. I could maybe eat, I think it was like celery and chicken. I was allergic to zucchini, cucumber, everything. So at the time, you know, the naturopathic doctors were kind of just like, focus on candida. You have a candida problem. You have leaky gut. And so I focused on that for the longest time, not realizing that we all have candida in our body. It's just when there's an overgrowth, what feeds that, you know? And so I think even in naturopathic school, maybe they're not taught to fully find the exact starting point to take care of. Instead, they're kind of looking at areas of like, well, this is popping up, so it might be this, you know? So yeah, I remember one night I was sitting up frustrated, and I started praying, and I was just like, please show me what I'm supposed to do or where to go. What do I need to understand to really fix this? And all of a sudden, I had gone on Amazon and I was looking up books, and something came to me about raw foods. And I'm like, so like boring food that has no salt and isn't cooked, like I don't want to do that.
It's always the two things. It's raw and there's no salt.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So I came across Jesse Jacoby's The Raw Cure book, and it popped out at me. I thought it was really beautiful, the front of it. And
can you highlight that real quick for anybody listening?
Oh yeah.
The book.
Yeah, Jesse Jacoby. Yeah, The Raw Cure. So he had come out with that book, I believe. It's 2000, somewhere around 2009.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it talks about raw foods and how to detox.
Yeah. Excellent book.
So good. He just came out with a 2.0.
Yep.
So that, and I saw him recently. He was updating it. He was very excited about it. It's an amazing book. I highly recommend it. Saved my life.
Yeah, Jesse Jacoby, The Raw Cure on Instagram. Check him out.
Yes. So, such a sweetheart of a human being. I got to page 19 in his book, and I broke down. I had, for the first time, felt like I had an answer, or at least a direction. And I felt like he understood everything that I started questioning. Another thing I noticed was I started looking up on YouTube people healing from fruit. And I'm like, no way. every naturopath, every doctor I'd gone to, don't touch fruit unless it's blueberries, like maybe once or twice a week, if that.
Yep.
Because the sugar, right? They focus so much on the sugar. So at this point, I'm just eating boiled chicken, really frustrated. At the same time, if I ate a heavy meal, my blood sugar wasn't stable, so I'd fall asleep at the table.
Ooh.
There were times I just literally would just like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
drained. And I couldn't really walk for a while. Like I'd get really, really winded. I know my adrenals were totally
Sure.
had been shut off from the steroid for so long.
Yeah.
So I would start to walk for 5 minutes a day. I was just like, I need to do this. I need to get out of the house. And I needed to sweat because I wasn't sweating before. I wasn't moving my lymphatic system. So yeah, I'd start walking every day. And over the course of a year, I started being able to walk, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half hour.
Nice.
And my family, they would drive. Sometimes like they'd be worried if I'd like pass out because I was so tired.
Sure.
That they'd drive kind of like near me. I appreciated that at the time. But yeah, and then at the end of a year, I could walk all the way into the next town over, which is like 5 hours.
And you were walking the whole way?
Walking the whole way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's like you had to learn to do things again. And
wow, there needs to be a movie made off of this.
It was great. It was
what a
awesome.
journey.
Another thing with the steroids that they don't tell you, I was in college at the time, and I had gotten asked freshman year to be on the writing team, and I was a pretty good writer. I will say, like I just let a lot out, and by the end of my senior year, I could not write correctly. It was really difficult to form words. I think it was maybe the heavy metals, but my professors would come to me and they'd be like, I understand what you're trying to say, but none of this makes sense. And it was so difficult for me. I'd break down because I was like, why is it not working? Why I can't form sentences? And even driving, there were times I would not know how to get back home. There were 2 times I couldn't, and I was 2 towns over, So it
makes sense.
A serious thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And so
I mean, with all the blockages you were dealing with too, not being able to go to the bathroom, parasites were thriving, and parasites all pee and poo in the brain, and make it really tough.
Yeah.
To think.
And I remember you and I spoke about edema too. So getting off the steroid, my arms had ballooned. It looked like I had 2 grapefruits here. We were saying I looked like Popeye.
Oh.
And it hurt. Your skin's expanding.
Yeah.
The water isn't going anywhere. You're urinating, but it's, your lymph is just so congested. And it's like, I've always been tiny. I'm trying to get, pretty buff, but I remember I was like, whoa, I'm a size large. Cool. Like I finally gained weight, but it wasn't the correct weight. So, getting into, after reading Jesse's book, getting into fruitarianism. Yeah, that's where I kind of...
electric food.
Yeah, I watched this video, this guy talking about eating fruit, and I was like, this guy's nuts, but I have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So I ended up eating apples for like 2 months, just green apples.
Ooh, Granny Smith.
Yeah,
good.
So good. And
those are great for the liver.
Yes, I was releasing a lot of bile. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. My liver enzymes went down.
Okay.
During that time, about 2 weeks in, I already noticed inflammation in my arms going down. And I wouldn't eat fat with it though. I stuck to the 80-10-10
okay, good.
diagram, and I was just like, okay, I need to somehow sweat, I need to get in the sun, and I need to hydrate my cells. And the thing about fruit sugars people don't look at is there's antioxidants in it, there's fiber, there's biophotons, right? So if you're eating the whole apple, there's so much nutrients in there instead of just sugar, and like, where are you getting your protein?
Yeah, and it's not sugar that feeds candida, it's fructose.
Exactly.
Our body uses that to produce energy, ATP.
Exactly. So it was definitely it was scary making the transition at first,
Mm.
but then I started
Yeah, I
saying,
bet.
okay, yeah, it's starting to change, and so I got more into raw foods. Reached out to Jesse and just thanked him for putting out the information he
Mm.
had. I really, he saved a big part of my life, and
Yeah.
another person I really got into was Dan McDonald.
Okay.
I started watching his videos of
Nice.
when he was in the RV and juicing, and I would come home from work and I would just binge watch next, next, next. And that was amazing, and I got to meet Dan. He's a sweet person, and then I got into Dr. Robert Morse. I just wanted to know more and more and more, and I'm like, why is this so simple, but we don't know about it,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And then I tried an experiment. I got regular apples from the store, and then I got organic apples.
Ooh.
And I noticed if I ate organic apples, I wouldn't get itchy, but if I had a regular apple from the store that got sprayed, I'd break out in a rash.
Do you hear that?
Yeah. So that made me start looking into glyphosate.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the crap is this? Why are they poisoning our food?
Yeah.
So
That moment of realization's like, what the
and then
hell?
it opened up so many doors. As you
Yeah.
know. But yeah. And yeah, I ended up going to like the whole raw food route, and detoxing more and more. I was getting my energy back. I was feeling more alive, and I remember just having a deep appreciation for life again. You know, I was pretty depressed for a while.
Yeah.
My writing skills started to come back,
Nice.
so that was cool. The nerve pain completely went away, completely 100%. And I was like, is this what people with fibromyalgia feel like?
Oh.
So it if anything, it's taught me more empathy towards people
Yeah.
that have these autoimmune conditions.
Yeah.
You know. Also, at the time, I was told to try colon hydrotherapy, and
Okay.
I had never heard of that before. I had done a couple enemas, and that was fun and interesting. A couple times the tube broke, and I'd go to get up and be falling and slamming into cabinets. It was pretty gnarly, but
The journey of enemas.
yeah. But I went in for a colonic, and at the time, my peristalsis wasn't working. This was near the beginning. I meant to mention this, but the peristalsis in my gut was not working, so my stomach was out to here, bloated.
Okay. Ooh.
We put the tube in, we start flushing with water, and all of a sudden, there was 2 other doctors in the room, and we all just watched my stomach just and the stuff that was coming out, I was just like, whoa, it was almost like green, slimy and green, you know. So that was really wonderful, and that's led me to get into colon hydrotherapy as well.
Okay.
And so yeah, it's just been a really cool, eye-opening experience.
Oh, wow. What a journey, Sarah. Thank you for sharing so much about that.
Yeah.
I know there's so much more. You could probably talk about this for days. I'm curious, what inside of you did you tap into, did you unlock as far as power through this process?
Yeah, I think my purpose in life is to, I want people to know they don't need to be scared. During the time that I was going through my things, I couldn't find a lot of information on what was happening, and I was really scared to kind of tap into something else, but I knew I had to. I knew there was another way, and I just prayed a lot, and I asked to be shown the way, and I think God provided that for me. And I was just, a lot of it wasn't my work, but I understand now what people are experiencing, and I want them to not be afraid to try the natural route, you know, and that they don't need to be stuck on something forever, no matter what the diagnosis is. You know, there's options for them, and their body's very intelligent and knows how to heal as long as we get out of its way, you know.
I love that. The journey brought you back to self, the belief in the body, the power.
Yeah.
It's so powerful because our body can heal from anything. It's made up of cells. Each and every cell is replaceable, regeneratable, and no matter what someone's dealing with.
Yeah, and you went through your stuff too.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys watch the very first episode of this podcast, my whole journey's out there. My Instagram, I share a lot of that. But no matter what we're going through, I look at it as a gift, all these things.
Totally.
Do you as well?
You have so much appreciation for life after because you feel alive again. It's like a rebirth.
Yeah.
And you just want to share it with people so that they can feel good, because we're just, everything out there is steering us in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
What's truth, it just feels that way.
Mm-hmm. It makes moving into the unknown, whether you're going through a transformation program, a detox, a new job, whatever troubles or hurdles are in front of us, it's like Christmas, like all these gifts in front of us. Because when life gets hard, we get gifts. It's like, oh, not only do I get to become a more developed whole person, but I also get to open up all these gifts. Why not move forward?
Yeah.
Like, the comfort zone is not cool at all.
No, and that was the thing. It's like, be stuck on steroids for the rest of your life in prescriptions,
Yeah.
I just wasn't going to accept that.
Good for you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's lonely times.
Totally.
Especially when, much like you, I was the only one in my circle that even believed in this or decided to believe or look outside the box. Everybody's like, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you use more cream? Why don't you do that?
What was one of the biggest changes you experienced first that you were like, oh, this is working?
Oh, urine therapy.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
When I had the full body psoriasis, urine therapy was the very first thing that gave me relief, because every night I would go to sleep, much like you were talking about, bleeding, oozing, itching.
Yep.
But when I started wiping down with urine before I go to sleep, I would let it air dry, and by the time it dried, I would be at peace.
Yeah.
And then I could listen to like some soft music and just go to sleep.
Yeah.
And I might have to do that a couple more times throughout the night, which really sucked, but it was a solution. It was a way. It was better than what I had before.
Yeah.
And then it progressed into drinking it every day, and then it just led me to healing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying apple cider vinegar, and that was like,
Oh.
remember one time I did a little too much, and
But that burnt.
I have actually a cool story about that.
Let's
Wanna
hear
hear
it.
real quick? Okay. So I was in my room. I had called my dad, and I had just put apple cider vinegar on my skin after getting out of the shower, and it burned. I did not realize how much you need to dilute that. So I was on the ground actually screaming and crying, and he was on his way home. He was going to bring me to the hospital to get a Z-Pack.
Yep.
And really quick, I was laying there, and I was like, please take the pain away. Please take the pain away. The pain lifted for 30 seconds. I remember I was literally in a fetal position, got up, and I kind of looked around my room. I was in shock. It did come back, but I had relief for 30 seconds for the first time. So I was like, whoa, there is so much to this. And
Why? What happened? What took the pain away?
I just prayed about it. And I was
Okay.
like, please take this away. And then, I had that lift for 30 seconds. And then, But my skin had, got our skin now before.
Yeah. Clean, pure.
Yeah. I know. It's amazing.
It is so amazing.
Yeah.
Now, let's dig into that just for a second. You said you prayed, but why do you think you felt a relief for 30 seconds? Like, what about that prayer?
I think God saw how much pain I was in. And like the story of Job, he has lesions and he's sick, and then everything comes back to him. But I think it was a way of it was like a comfort, like I'm here, like you're gonna go through this pain, but it's gonna be for the good and the greater for humanity.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. What I feel like when I heard you say that was like you believed that it was possible for it to have someone help you, which is why you prayed. And a lot of times, like, if we're going through something in life, we don't pray or petition or whatever to our higher self or source, God, whatever you want to call it, because we're like, nobody's here to help me. I have to do this alone. But just the fact that we believe in anything makes it real.
There were times we went up to Cape Cod, I remember, and it was just like a very lonely time, as you know how it could be.
Yeah.
And I remember having affirmations on my iPad, or I'm sorry, my
iPod.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm like, what was it back in the day?
We're talking some 90s. So.
And I was listening to like Dean Martin. I was like trying to get myself happy. When I was inside, I was internally like.
Did you say Dean Martin?
Yes.
I grew up on Dean Martin.
Okay, yeah. So I was listening to him, and I'm like, okay, like jazzy.
Yeah.
Happy. But really, I'm like, oh, this sucks. So I'm walking around this cul-de-sac, and I started saying affirmations in my head, and it was every day and every way I'm getting healthier and better. And I didn't believe it, but I would say it nonstop. I would write it on the wall constantly, just like over time. Even the more if I didn't feel like it, I would say it. And yeah, very slowly it started to heal on all levels. So it was really cool.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah, the unconscious mind is what creates our reality. And when we feed it a script, she, because it's feminine, she's like, okay, I got you. I'm the portal of life. I'll bring this into your creation. Let's do it. I mean, it's like I got my laptop over here. My screensaver is literally affirmations.
Yeah.
It's like sticky notes.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Just because I see it. It's being fed all the time in there.
Yeah, you have to work on even anything with the body. You need to work on it emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Then the body is the last to heal. So it's like, and I always think about, when we cry, that's such a sadness of emotion, or emotion of sadness, that you physically create a tear. It's like, what are we doing to our bodies, So.
Amen. You just said it. And you guys have heard me talk about this with my electric body activation method, which is like what I help the world with, is it's the whole complete thing. It's not just physical detox.
Right.
It's all of it, because it's all connected. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's where it all started.
That's where it started, yeah.
And it's led you to now doing colon
hydrotherapy.
Colon hydrotherapy.
Yeah.
And spreading your story and sharing your light with the world.
Yeah, I have my mucoid plaque up on the wall in our center. It's a Flow Colonics and Detox in Phoenix. And people come in, they're kind of like, oh, what's your credentials? And I'm like, that is me. They're like, that is disgusting. What is that? Why is it rubbery? And I was like, yeah, years of Doritos and Gushers and school lunch. And
yeah.
What was the grossest school lunch item you think you've eaten?
I was homeschooled.
Oh, lucky.
So I got like cottage cheese, ham sandwiches, Doritos.
Oh, okay.
I still got some nasty stuff. It was all home prepped.
Yeah.
But it for me, it was in the military. I ate some pretty bad stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
All
and
the
yeah.
packaged and processed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
MREs, all these things out in the desert.
Yep.
Just things that were so dehydrating on the body. And that's literally something we were not taught about. But eating foods that are less hydrating than the body is, or have less water content than what the body has, shouldn't be going into the body.
Right.
Simple. I still eat dry stuff from time to time, but if you really want to cleanse, you got to be putting that Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so same like you, I was backed up. There'd be days without having a bowel movement.
Yeah. And then when you finally did, it's like scary to eat again, because you're like, oh, I'm going to go back to getting constipated. I remember too, like living off a senna tea, and my friend's grandma had these laxatives that were chocolate flavored, and I'd be going in like eat. She's like, "What's happening to all my laxatives?"
Oh God.
So, yeah, it was a fun time. But yeah.
Wow.
I just feel so much joy now, and I feel like my body, it's had its challenges. I've run into mold, especially coming to Arizona, surprisingly. But in the long run, my mood had shifted completely.
Yeah.
And I have such an appreciation for people that haven't had answers, and they're trying to find out ways to detox and to heal. I run into that a lot, the colon hydrotherapy center, and yeah, it's just, I think people, they want to heal. They just need to be given the right direction and the right tools, and then they make that choice themselves.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Amen. Okay, here's another question for you.
Yeah.
Through your whole journey, what do you feel like you had to detox mentally from your mindset to get through?
So before, I was very superficial, I would say, in college. Like, I had to tan all the time and like have the whitest teeth, and always working out, which was, working out was healthy, but I think I had to lose, like, I lost my hair, a lot of my hair during that. My vision, I couldn't see very clearly. Just like completely bloated, itchy all the time, oozing. I was scared to go into I tried to go grocery shopping with my mom, but I would hide away. I'd wear like an oversized sweatshirt. I'd be smothered in coconut oil too, so I'd be super greasy.
All shiny.
I remember I tried going on a date during that time, and I had met the guy's roommate, and afterwards, he's like, so what do you think of her? And the guy's like, she's kind of greasy, dude. Like, I just had been smeared with coconut oil.
Oh.
But I think, yeah, losing that vanity aspect to it, and I'm glad that happened. I think also mentally it showed the perseverance of, yeah, this sucks, it hurts, it's painful, but the amount of joy you get once that relief, like you conquered that, you feel like, gosh, I feel like rainbow was like shining on my butt. I was just like, man, I just want people to feel this good all the time. And
Yeah.
yeah, flexibility returned and hair came back. And
Yeah, your hair looks great.
thank you. And yeah, doing juice cleanses, and I noticed like the whites of my eyes got brighter.
Yeah.
People would even say that, and you're like, wow, really cool. Like you're noticing it's like a spiritual transformation too. You know, because this is the temple. You know, you're stuck with this. So
yeah, it's our gift, and we get to make it a beautiful place to live.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. That's been part of my journey as well, is like shedding the ego, what the body looks like, and knowing that, like, knowing who I am, regardless of my body, and then seeing myself with that much love and acceptance. Now I look at myself like I'm the sexiest thing to ever walk around. Before I did, but it was like an artificial construct. Now it's there, it's grounded.
And you have information to show people, like, okay, like if people ask, like, what do you do differently? You know, like why are you glowing, or what's this? And you're like, hey, like, I want you to feel good.
Yeah.
So
yeah, these journeys really show us that we really are in our own world. Luckily, our worlds get to overlap, but like I'm the only one in my world. I'm the only one that has ever been, ever will be.
It's lonely. I think I remember going to the Woodstock Fruit Fest to try to find other people that kind of had the same mindset. Because being raw vegan in Connecticut in the winter, like nobody, and you're in a tiny town, like, you know, like it was hard. I met a lot of online friends at the time, and I met a lot of really interesting people. And then I know I told you, you know, I jumped to like the primitive world right after that, and we had a cabin up in Washington, and so I learned how those people live too. So I didn't, you know, I had many perspectives and could relate to people instead of being like, oh, you're stupid, you eat meat, like you're an asshole.
Right.
Yeah, so it's just, I'm very open to different dynamics and whatever helps people heal. And you brought up a good point as to toxicity in the body and, you know, why certain people can have certain diets. And
yeah, it's this journey of discovering self through all these experiences. There's no sides, there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's so easy for in our information age to be like, well, that's right, that's wrong, this, that.
Yeah.
But really, it's all just about get to know yourself, have fun, be kind to others.
Love people.
And love people. First and foremost, love ourselves. And remember that the answers are waiting to be accepted. We just have to believe, like you said, pray, help me, and boom, it's there. What an awesome journey. Sarah, thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, great. Love having you on the show. Thank you for being here, sharing your story.
Thank you for asking.
I know if you're still listening to this has impacted you big time. Check out Sarah on Instagram. All her links and information are below this video. Again, thank you for watching the Jonathan David Detox Show. As always, if you haven't seen the other episodes, go back. They're all archived there. And if you have any topics that you'd love to see me discuss or anybody that you'd love to see me interview, drop it in the comments. And as always, continue to love yourself, shine, and let's keep living, baby.
Be blessed.
Be blessed. Let's go.